So here's what I want to do. To get us started tonight, I would love for you to pop into the chat when I tonight's all about success. When you think about success, what is your relationship with success? Just one or two words. What is your relationship with success? And just pop that into the chat. I'd love to see where you currently feel like you're at with success. So for those of you that don't know me, that are just tuning in, I'm Andrew Carruthers. I work for Sambia as the culture ambassador for the company. I used to be the education director for Sambia. And for 23 years, I've been in the industry. I've done a lot of coaching and education, but this last year and a half, I've really been focused on coaching and development of other people. And I'm glad that you're here with me because this means that you and I have something in common, which is we have a passion for how to develop ourselves, how to look a little bit deeper into ourselves. And so if you're looking to develop yourself more and you're curious about how to take this word success and have a better relationship with it and how to have more success, stay tuned because that's what we're going to jump into. We're going to spend a good 30 minutes together. So if you can, please stick with me the whole time because we're going to have a really good time and really utilize that chat box, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, pop into the chat box and make sure you're with us. So let's get rolling. We're going to just check in here with the comments so far. We've got Las Vegas in the house, Massachusetts. Shirley says, first word that comes as far as success is evolving. Lorraine Perry, Neighbors, Utah, nice. Let's see. Rosie says, hi, to be honest, I don't know. And that's all right too, Rosie. That's great. I think that our discussion tonight will help to dive a little bit deeper in for us. Hi to the Netherlands. Hi, Gloria. So the first thing that we need to think about when it comes to success is what is success? How do we define success for us? Hey, from Kenya, welcome. And Portugal's in the house. Very cool. Colombia, South America. Man, we've got the international crowd here, Dana. So what is success for you? Pop that into the chat. And again, just maybe one or two words. What does success mean to you personally? So when I think about success, I think about getting the desired end result that I'm looking for. That's what I kind of think of. I don't necessarily personally have this real strict, specific definition of success, but I just think about what is the desired result that I'm looking for. And if I'm successful, I get to that desired end result. Rihanna says it changed so much over time. Yes, Rihanna, totally. Dana saying feeling fulfilled is success. Very nice. Love those. Hello to Miami. Michelle says reaching a goal. That feels like success. Nice. So pure contentment. Thank you, Shirley. That's awesome. Success can mean so many different things to so many different people. And I think one of the first things that's really important when we start to have a conversation around this word success is, well, what is that for you? Because I think often when we're looking at social media, or we're looking at, I've got a bunch of books on the shelf, I've got the seven habits of highly successful people. And the word success gets used in a lot of different ways. And very often we kind of go to like financial success or work success. Thanks, Tony. I appreciate it. She says, I like the guitars in the back. But very often when we start to hear the word success, we kind of apply that to something like work, finances, things like that. And we don't go much further than that. So let's think about this. If we look at success as getting the result or getting the desired end result that we want, that can mean a lot of different things. Like you guys said it. Maybe the desired end result is the goal that you have. Maybe the desired end result is just to feel a sense of pure contentment. Stephanie says, I couldn't think of a few words to describe success, so it'll be success when you can. I love that. That's awesome, Stephanie. The practical and tangible results that we get, like when we say, okay, I have a specific goal, very often, let's put it into terms because I know most of you that are watching are in the hair industry, so a lot of us can relate to this. Let's say it's a specific goal that we have within the salon. So if we hit that specific goal, then it's like, oh, I'm successful. I had success with this specific goal. And that's a tangible result. We can look at a number, we can look at something that we've achieved. That's a tangible result. Now, something is driving that tangible result. And that's what we have to start to look into. This could be a subconscious thing. This could be some type of need that we have that maybe we're conscious of, but maybe we're completely unconscious of. It's just a need that has arisen over time. It could be something very heartfelt. It could be something that is very heart-driven, like relationships or connection. It could be something that's very deep, kind of gut intuitive that's driving us, something that we can tell that like we're not sure why we want it, but we know that we want it so bad. Larray says achievement. Yeah, that absolutely is a word that a lot of people relate to success. Ooh, Tony, I love that. Tony says sometimes fear and success work together. And absolutely, sometimes we have to go through the fear. Sometimes the fear is a driver. Absolutely. So here's what's important is if we find ourselves in a situation that success looks like some type of tangible result, whether it's a certain dollar figure, whether it's a house, a car, something that's tangible, even a relationship, that's the tangible end result. We want to step back just a little bit and we want to ask ourselves, what is driving me to want that end result? What is making me want this as my final result to whatever I'm doing here? Because when we find that deeper sense of like, well, this is what's driving me towards it, it keeps us from getting to the end and also maybe feeling a little disappointed. And how many of you have felt that? Type yes in the chat if you have had a goal, you've had something you've wanted, and you kind of had this mindset like, oh, I'm going to be so happy when I get this, or I'm going to feel so fulfilled. You get to the end goal, and you still are sitting there going, well, I don't feel better. I don't feel different. Type yes into the chat if you've had that experience. I know I've had that experience. Roller Girl says that success is feeling confident instead of anxiety at work. Very nice. Good. Shirley says yes. Michelle says yes, you've had that experience. So what that experience is that we are attaching some need or want or something that we desire more internally to an external result. Again, it might be a financial goal that we have. It might be the car that we want. It might be the home that we want. It might be the partner that we want. If we get that end result, but it doesn't actually fulfill the need or the want or the desire inside of us, that's where we feel disappointment. We feel kind of let down. And so if we can understand what that deeper desire is, what that thing deeper inside of us is that is driving us to want that vision of success, then we can start to modify how we look at success. Shirley says the getting to the goal, the success, is far more interesting. And that's exactly right, Shirley. That is something that I think is really important when we think about success. Can we start to shift the mindset of success away from just this one defined thing? I have to hit $100,000 this year. Okay. The first question I would ask is, why? Why do you want to have $100,000 this year? Oh, well, that's a good question, because I'll get to buy the house that I want. Okay. Why do you want that house? Well, because I've always wanted that house. I think it's really cool. It looks really beautiful. Well, if you get the house, what will be different about your life? I'll be more satisfied. I'll be more peaceful. I'll be more this. Oh, okay, cool. So we're looking for peacefulness. We're looking for whatever other thing, satisfaction. And that's what we're looking for by getting to that $100,000. You see what's happening here? We're actually giving ourselves more of what we're looking for from the result, more so than just focusing so specifically on the result. This is making sense so far. Say yes. Put that into the chat. I want to make sure you're all with me. If it's not making sense, please pop into the chat with any kind of questions that are coming up as we go through. Stephanie says you've experienced that many times. Rihanna says yes. And Roller Girl, yes. Awesome. So once we drill down to this is what I want to experience, then the next question is can we broaden the scope of what might give us that result? What might bring that into our world? So instead of it being necessarily, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have specifics in your goals. That's not what I'm suggesting. What I am suggesting is instead of just $100,000 being the goal and being the target that would create success, maybe we broaden the definition for ourselves to, well, if I get to the end of this year and I feel fulfilled, I feel satisfied, I feel peaceful, that is still successful to me. So that way, it's not like if I don't hit that $100,000 goal, let's say I don't hit it, that it feels like this, oh, I'm so disappointed in myself. I let myself down. I'm not a successful person. All these other stories that could come along with it. We can look back and say, oh, well, did I work towards trying to be more peaceful? Did I work towards trying to be more satisfied? And if I did those things, can I see that as the success? Make sense? Tony says, I like to work on small goals. Yeah, that's awesome because those little bite-sized pieces of success can be the driver to go to the next one, right? And kind of like Shirley said, I think the other thing that I'd love for us all to consider is, can we start to define success as more of the journey, more of the experience that we're going to get through the process? One of the things that my coach, Lynn Christian, said to me one time that was really powerful. She's like, all results are good. And I was like, man, I don't like that. I don't jive with that, because especially at that point in my life, I was pretty results oriented. Like I wanted things to be a certain way. I was pretty specific about, here's my goal, here's how I'm going to get it, this is what needs to happen, right? And so something had happened. I didn't get what I wanted. I was pretty disappointed. And she was like, look, all results are positive. All results have some type of benefit to them. But what we get stuck on is if we didn't get this, then it's like, oh, all of this was for naught. But I'm sure that every single one of you that is watching has gone through this process where you get to the other side. And even if it's not what you want, let's say it's even a huge disappointment, a huge letdown. And I would even be willing to bet that you all can tell some great stories about times that you have been massively let down in your life, but you look back and you make statements like, but I wouldn't change it for anything. Think about relationships that you might have had in the past that maybe were even kind of painful to the heart. But very often we look back at those experiences and we go, but I wouldn't have changed it. And why do we say that? Why do we say that I wouldn't have changed it, even though it was hard, even though it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to? We say that because we got something from it. We learned something that we needed to learn through that experience. And potentially we might not have had that learning, that growth, that experience, or that learning or growth without that specific experience. So the question I'll put out for your consideration, and I have to challenge myself with this question pretty often, is, can the experience itself, the journey itself, can that be my definition of success? Is that I go through the journey, that I have the courage to step into the journey? Is that not in and of itself successful? Now, again, don't get me wrong. I am not by any means suggesting that you shouldn't have big, beautiful goals that you want to achieve. That's in addition to. What I'm suggesting is maybe we can start to look at how we define success a bit differently, and so we have a different relationship with it. I'm just going to click back through your comments here real quick. I want to make sure that I don't lose anything. Ooh, success for Shirley says letting go of money worries. That's a huge shift. That's awesome. Ooh, that's cool, Lorraine. Lorraine says success with relationships is much more important to me. Authored several books. I didn't feel the satisfaction. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, success in relationships, beautiful. Yes, Tony, it's always a great feeling. And Tony says it's always a great feeling to learn who you are. Absolutely. We do that through the journey, right? So, next question then. If we start to change how we look at the definition of success, what is the journey to success then? What are elements, and pop it into the chat, what do you think some of the elements are to a journey that will lead us to success? What can help a journey and be more successful so that when we do get to the end, we at least have a sense of like, oh, yeah, I did what I wanted to. Maybe I didn't get the exact result that I wanted. Maybe I did get the exact result that I wanted, but what led to that point that I can feel successful in the journey? Pop it into the chat. What do you think? What are some things that will help us to have a successful journey? And thank you so much for being so interactive. It makes this way more fun to me. I don't love just talking to a camera by myself. So I appreciate all of you for being so interactive on these Wellness Wednesdays, especially when I don't have a guest. It's different when I have a guest. I have someone I can chat with, but thank you for being part of it. Ooh, Lorraine, could feeling successful ever end? Continuing to grow? That is a great question. I love that question. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'd love to hear what you think. Dimpy says, I like to explore all my creativity and get success in what I'm good in. Beautiful. Yes, exploring creativity. Creativity is a huge, essential piece of a successful journey. Rana says, being present in the moments along the way. Yes, presence is huge. Tony says, perseverance. Absolutely. Yes. So some of the things that are so important for us to have a successful journey, whether it is a specific goal or whether it's not, is that we do have to have that sense of perseverance and resilience so that as the roadblocks come up, as the kind of punches are thrown, we still have that sense of perseverance and that courage to move forward and the resilience to kind of take the hits and not let us take it off our feet. Now, that doesn't mean that we become dogged in the path, because that will actually often keep us from success. A lot of what happens in the initial setup is we go, okay, here's what I want out here. Here's the success that I want in the world. Here's how I will get it. I will take this action, this action, this action, this action. So we start taking these actions. Along the road, those actions aren't working. But we do them again because we have decided that that is how we will get what we want. And we keep not getting what we want, but we keep doing the same thing. And by the way, that's actually not the definition of insanity. That's a whole different topic. But that's just human habit. We get really stuck on, well, this is how I do this. This is how I do this. Even if we keep getting the feedback that, but that's not going to give you what you want. So, oh, Deborah Grove, right to the point. Being flexible on the journey is also really important because we need the courage, we need the perseverance, we need that resilience to stay on the path. We also need the flexibility that when the path keeps saying, no, you got to try something else here, we have the flexibility to say, well, maybe I'll try something different today and see how that works. Great. Shirley, taking a moment to stop and really look at where I'm at. Yeah, that patience to be able to stop, the patience that it takes to be able to stop, not get off the path, not jump ship, but just stop and say, is this working? Is it not working? And could I do something different? That takes a lot of patience. Absolutely. Roller Girl, love that. Ongoing education to keep interested and involved. And yeah, one of the things that's really essential to a successful journey is we have to have the skill set to take the journey. So if success is, let's say it's a new job, it's a new opportunity that's coming our way. If I don't have the education, I don't have the experience, I don't have the skill set, that is going to keep me from being able to continue on the path. So one of the things that we talked about this actually on Testimony Thursday, the show that I'm on with Carla Novoa and Zulu the artist every Thursday morning. We were talking about success, and this is one of the things that Carlo had talked about, is that we don't ever really know what our experiences are preparing us for, what our education is preparing us for. And that's why it's so important, like Roller Girl says, to keep the ongoing education, to stay interested, to stay involved in what we're doing, because we never know when that new opportunity might come. And if we're going to say yes to that opportunity, if we're going to, go for the success of a new position, a new job, we really have to have that skill set to back it up and to carry us forward. So skill set is a huge piece of it. Oh, Anne-Marie Clark says you have to love yourself before you can love others. And that's a great point, Anne-Marie, because another thing that I think is super essential is the confidence within to persevere. Now, here's the thing. We don't always start with that confidence, do we? How many of you have had to do something even before you had the confidence? Type me if you've done that before, where you saw an opportunity and you said, I don't have the confidence in myself to take this opportunity, but I'm still going to say yes. How many of you have done that? Type me in the chat if you have. So sometimes it's confidence. Sometimes it is that self-love. Sometimes it's also just the courage to just say yes and to push ourselves into places that we're willing to feel the fear. Someone else said something about fear and success often go hand in hand. There's a great book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And very often that's what we do have to have, is that courage before the confidence comes to even say, like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I do have the knowledge. I don't know if I have the skill set. I don't know if I have the training to get there, but we still step into it. I'm just checking on comments here. Rihanna says me, Shirley says me, and Tony's yes. Jennifer says, always appreciating the lessons learned. Absolutely. Yeah, Dana, every experience is a building block to the next one. And I know that you've had those too, where the experiences that you're having in this certain position, it's like, oh, well, those experiences have created a new opportunity for me. Absolutely. Shirley says a little off-roading just to shake things loose is okay. Yes, absolutely. And getting kicked off the path can be fun if we're open to it. Yes, yes. Roller Girl says new technologies. Yes, absolutely. Having those new technologies at our hands is a huge part of it too. What about health? How do you feel like health plays into a successful journey? Because I do find that sometimes we do see the mindset aspects, like, yes, the courage, the focus, the presence in the moment, all of those things. But what about health? Because if the body isn't healthy enough to support us in what we're trying to do, if the body isn't healthy and strong enough to keep us on the path, if the body isn't healthy and strong enough to support the mind, to have the positive mindset, health can really be an aspect that gets in our way of the journey. Health is also spiritual, it's also mental, it's also emotional. So if those things are off, it's really going to create a lot of barriers from within. It's not even the roadblocks from outside, it's within. Shirley says that would be buying a business with no knowledge of how to run one. Have you had that experience, Shirley? I wonder. I love it. Lorraine, giving up is when we fail. Yes, absolutely. Keep trying. Yes, yes, for sure. So the one other thing I'd like to just put out for your consideration too is discernment, because it's kind of comes back to that point of that if we keep getting the message from somewhere that we're not on the right path, Can we have the discernment to know, do I keep moving this way or do I change path and I do go here? The question really simply that I ask very, very often with my clients is it moving you towards or is it moving you away? And that's how we can have discernment as we go on the journey, because different opportunities are going to happen as we walk along the path. Someone might offer us a new position. Maybe someone offers us advice. We then have to have the discernment to trust our intuition, to trust something deeper within ourselves to say, well, is that path that this person suggested, is that something I should explore? Or does that actually take me away from what I want? This new position in my grand scheme of success, is this new position actually drawing me towards, or is it drawing me away from what I said that I wanted? And that's, again, why it's so important that we don't just go with, well, I want to make $100,000 this year, because that could actually take us further away from our success. We have to ask ourselves, what is the want behind that $100,000? Well, it gives me the opportunity to buy this house. That house gives me a sense of peace. It gives me a sense of security. So if this new job comes along the path, okay, I'm on my path to success of this $100,000 a year, a new job gets placed in front of our face. Hey, look, here's a job that you could make $120,000 a year, even more than what you wanted. Now, if that job takes us away from peacefulness, if it takes us away from security, if it takes us away from all of the really base core reasons that we started to pursue this certain goal in the first place, is that, even though it has a certain aspect of attraction to it, do we have the discernment to look at it and go, actually, this takes me kind of off my path? That's a tough one, right? And to Shirley's point earlier, that goes along with that sense of, do I have the patience to sit back for a second and analyze that and look at it? So remember that we have to have those moments of discernment along the path too. And the last one that I might add too is support. Because I don't know if you would all agree, but most of the times that I can look back on my successful times in life where I'm like, man, that was a really successful journey, whether it was personally or professionally or whatever, I had some level of support from someone within that journey. It might have just been the support of my wife cheering me on, saying, hey, yeah, do it, go for it, I've got your back. It might have just been a voice of support. It might have been my life coaches or my coaching group that I work with, that we do a lot of peer support for each other and a lot of peer coaching for each other. But I've always had that support. Maybe it's just a friend. But I think an essential piece to any successful journey is knowing that we have a support system around us, because I do also think that often one of the stories that has kind of been perpetuated in the past is like, well, if you can't do it on your own, then it's not worth doing, kind of a mentality. And take this as my opinion. I don't necessarily buy into that. I think that we do need the support of other people to have these beautiful, successful journeys. So if this is making sense so far, type yes into the chat so I know you're with me. Oh, Lorraine says health. Surgical error damaged your heart. Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. That would be tough, because that's not of your choosing, right? That was in someone else's hands at the moment. Okay, Marissa. What's up, Marissa? Marissa, Tony, and Chick Hot Mess Gypsy. I love that. Maybe it's Chic Hot Mess Gypsy. Shirley, Rihanna, and Dana, Deborah, all saying yes. Awesome. Zambia Professionals giving us purple hearts. Dimpy says yes. What up, Marissa? All right, so let's kind of start to put a little wrap on this. What do we do when we get to the end of the journey? Whether it was a successful journey or an unsuccessful journey, what do we do then? Because I also think that this is a really important part that I learned through learning to become a coach and also learn from my coach is that we don't want to just stop at the end. We don't want to just get to the finish line and go, oh, okay, I'm here. I got my $100,000, or I got my job, or I didn't get my $100,000, or I didn't get my job, whatever the goal might be, or the relationship. At that point, we want to start to ask ourselves some questions. Now, again, because I know that I'm speaking to a lot of hairdressers, how many of you, type me in the chat, how many of you accidentally have made someone's hair beautiful? How many of you have accidentally made someone's hair beautiful? Meaning, if I asked you, well, how did you get to that point? How did you make that color so vibrant? How did you make that haircut so perfect? You wouldn't be able to say. So how many of you out there, and just type me in the chat, have had an experience that, yeah, you got to the end result and you're like, wow, good job, but I have no idea how I got here. She caught mess. Gypsy says yes. Shirley's yep. Foils especially. Okay. I'll be the first to admit there were plenty of haircuts, and you have the client, they'll come back and they'll be like, I don't know what you did last time, but man, that was the best haircut that you ever gave me. And you're like, I have no idea what I did either that would have made it different. Marissa says me. So we can do that in life as well. We can get everything that we wanted, and we get to the end, we're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. And we celebrate that we got to that end point. But do we look back and say, well, what did I do? Like, what was it that got me to this place? Or do we just kind of call it luck? Because here's the other side of the coin. How many of you have gotten to the end of a bad haircut or the end of a bad color and gone, oh crap, I have to figure out why this happened? When things don't go right, it's pretty normal for us to look back and to kind of have that analyzation process of like, okay, well, what happened here? Like, what took me off path? What made this haircut not work or this color go terribly wrong? That's pretty natural. But when something is successful, when something works out, we very rarely take the moment to go, well, what made this successful? And one of the first questions that I often ask one of my coaching clients is just, hey, how are things going? It might be just like an opening question. How are things going for you? If things are going well, a lot of times my coaching client, you know what? Things are going great. I don't even know what we're going to talk about today because things are just going so good. Because very often people are hiring me because there's something not going right. But the next question that I ask when someone says, well, things are great, things are going really well. And I say, well, why are they going well? That usually puts people kind of into a state of speechlessness. Like, I didn't think about that because things are going well. I don't really have anything to think about. But don't we want to be able to replicate what takes us in a good path? So don't just get to the end of the path. Make sure that we're checking back in. Like, yeah, okay, that was awesome. That was really successful. And are we giving ourselves the opportunity to really kind of bask in that glow, or are we just off to the next thing? Because I know some of you are out there, you're my friends, and I even have a few of my old clients in the house. You don't have to say who you are. No one needs to know that. But I know that we have high achievers in the audience, people that want to continue to grow. The challenge in there is we kind of are like, okay, awesome, success. What's next? And we're just kind of off to the races on the next thing. And I think that really doesn't honor all of the time and energy that we put into creating what we have. So just a suggestion, make sure that also when things do happen, that you're taking that moment. After our yoga practice, we have just a moment of stillness, and they call it just basking in the glow. Like, give yourself in that moment, that time after something goes so well and you feel so good, give yourself that moment to really anchor and feel that, bask in that glow, right? So I would love for you to just put into the chat What do you understand different about success in your relationship with success now versus just 30 minutes ago when we started this conversation? Right now, some of you have maybe joined us halfway through, but what's something that you're walking away with today that you're like, oh, yeah, I kind of see success differently in this way? Go ahead and pop that into the chat. I'll give you a few moments. I'll just kind of keep talking as you're typing into the chat. But I would also like you to consider, as you're typing that, what is something that you would like to shift in how you start to work with the things that you want to make you successful, with your goals, with your aspirations? How do you want to pursue success differently at this point? I want you to consider that. Ray says one of the things that they're taking away is discernment. Marissa says health has a part to play in it. Very nice. Jennifer saying to be present. Oh man, it's hard. I have a very futuristic mind. I'm always kind of thinking about what's next and what can I dream of in the future. So yeah, being present is really challenging for me, Jennifer. She caught Mess Gypsy. I love that screen name so much. Says to always encourage yourself. Beautiful. Shirley saying to take a moment to appreciate it. Wonderful. Yeah, and Tony says, so bask in the success, take it in. So one favor to ask you all, because, hey, look, the gods here at Samvia, they love you. So, here at Samvia, we are always offering this as just a service to our community. And we don't ask for anything in return. We don't ask for money. You don't have to pay for this. Same thing for myself. I'm here as a service, not as something to profit from for these episodes. So if you've really enjoyed this, here's what we would ask of you. Share it. That's all. And not necessarily to share it to spread the word of Samvia or of Andrew Carruthers, but share it because you want to pass on this information to someone that you know that's going to love it and really benefit from it. So do yourself a favor, do your friends a favor, share this with someone that you know is going to benefit. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have any questions for me, you want to connect with me, right there on the screen is my information. You can always head to thejourneyist.life and hit the button there to send me a message, or hit me up on social media. It's really easy to find me. I'm on Facebook and on Instagram as Andrew.Carruthers. And of course, like I said, we do have